Hi, welcome again, and in this video I'll talk about the permission scheme in Jira Cloud. Before going forward, we will see what is the agenda of the video. In this video we will learn what is permission scheme, how to create new permission scheme and assign it to project, and how to manage the permission scheme. We will see what is permission scheme. So permission scheme used in the classic project, and Jira admin manage the classic project permissions through the permission scheme. We have two types of project in Jira, classic and the next gen. Permission scheme used only in the classic project, not in the next gen. In the next gen project we use the custom roles. So for next gen projects, the project admin manage the project permissions with the help of the custom roles. Every classic project has a permission scheme, and a permission scheme grants users, groups or roles to their permissions in your classic project. If you are not aware about the users, groups or roles, and you do not know how to create the users, how to create the groups and roles, then don't worry, you can watch my previous video. I have created the video just specific to the users, groups and roles, so that you can understand these things before watching this permission scheme video. Now we will go to our Jira Cloud instance and we will see how can we access our permission scheme, how can we edit the permission scheme, and how can we create a new permission scheme and assign this to the project. For editing the permission scheme, you must be in a Jira admin role, because a Jira admin only can edit the permission scheme. And the second thing is, if you are using a free plan of a Jira software, then you cannot edit the project permissions or permission scheme or roles on the free plans for Jira software or Jira code. So if you have a free plan, then you have to upgrade if you want to use the roles and if you want to edit the project permissions. You can't configure the issue security labels as well in the free plan. If you have a free plan, then please upgrade and play with the permissions. If you are a Jira admin, then you can see this cover or setting icon. You will click, and underneath the Jira setting we have the issue options. We will click on the issue, and in the left side bar, when we will scroll down, we have options of permission scheme. We will click on the permission scheme and it will open a permission scheme page. It will tell you about the permission scheme and how it helps us, or how it helps the Jira admin to reduce his or her overhead, because permission scheme save your time in project setup. Once a permission scheme is set up, it can be applied to all projects that have the same type of access requirements. It means it makes it easy for Jira admins to manage the permissions of many projects at once. The second thing is, permission scheme set permissions only at the project level. If you need any other permissions like bulk edit and the shared object, or filter subscriptions, or create next gen projects, then you have to set the global permissions. So you should always keep in your mind the project permissions or permission schemes set the permissions only at the project level. In this table you can see we have two default schemes and the other schemes as well. The default permissions scheme and the default software scheme. The default scheme means when someone create a new project in your Jira instance and the project type is a software scheme, it means this default software scheme will assign to that project automatically by default. Here we can see this is Caprica, Megastrom. They are the some few software projects they are using the default software scheme. We have the actions for these schemes to watch the permissions, copy, edit and delete. With the help of the edit, you can change the description of the scheme and you can change the name of the scheme. When you will click on the edit, then it will open a window where you can change the name and the description. After that, you can click on the update or cancel. So right now I am cancelling it. I am a Jira admin and I can see in the permission scheme section which project is using which permission scheme. But if you are not a Jira admin, then how can you identify which project is using which permission scheme? For this video, I'll use a sample Scrum project. So I'll go to the your work here. I'll open into the new tab. I can go to this sample project with the help of this project drop down as well, but I go in that way. Okay, so here I am in the sample Scrum project. I'll go to the project setting, and in the project setting, when I'll scroll down, I have a option permissions. When I will click, then it will open a permission page where I can see this is a default software scheme. It means the sample Scrum project is using default software scheme, and it is telling us about the project scheme. Okay, so do not confuse between the project scheme or the permission scheme. Both are same. We can say project permission scheme or we can say permission scheme. So project permission define who can access a project and what they can do. When we will scroll down, we have the permissions, project permissions and issue permissions, and after that we have voter and voucher permissions, comment permissions, attachment permissions, time tracking permissions, and many more. I'll explain all the permissions in this video. And in the right hand side, we have the permission helper, we have the action. When we will click in the action, then we have two options, add permissions and use a different scheme. I am an admin, that's why I am able to see these options. If you are not admin, then you can only see this page, you cannot add it and you cannot change the scheme as well. Okay, now we will see what is the meaning of this administrator permissions, browse project and the manage sprint. So administrator project permissions means it is giving us the ability to administrate a project in Jira. And in the right hand side we have the user groups and the project role. It means the project role administrator, project role Atlassian add-ons, project access have the ability to administrate a project. Like the second one is browse project, and this is a very important permission in Jira because it's give the ability to browse the project and the issue within them. If you do not have the browse project permissions, it means there is no benefit of having the other permissions because you cannot see the project, you cannot browse the project, you cannot see the issues of the project. Then what is the benefit of having the other permissions? This is very important. Second thing is manage sprint, ability to manage the sprint. If someone has the permissions to manage the sprint, then they can only manage the sprint. They can change the name of the sprint, they can change the date, start date and the end date, they can complete the sprint. So this is the only permissions which is required to manage the sprints. Now view development tools. Allow users in a software project to view development related informations on the issue such as commits, reviews and the build information. So this particular permissions is necessary to see the development related informations. If you want to see the workflow, then you should be assigned in this permissions view read only workflow. Users with these permissions may view a read only version of a workflow. So what is read only version of a workflow? Let me tell you. So I'll open this project in the new tab. Okay, I'll go to the issues and I'll access any issue. Let's suppose I'll click on story 1, and in the status drop down I have options to view workflow. When I'll click on the view workflow, it will open this particular window here where you can see the workflow, what is the workflow of this project. But this is only a read only view. You can click here and you can close it. I can see this view only options because I have a permissions of view read only workflow. So these are the permissions which will come under the project permissions. Now issue permissions. Assignable users. Users with these permissions may be assigned to issue. So these two permissions, assign issues and assignable users, have a little bit confusion every time. So it is very necessary to understand both the permissions separately and very clearly. So assignable user means users with this permission may be assigned to issue, and assign issue means ability to assign the issues to other people. So this is the difference between these two permissions. Now the third one is close issues. If someone has these permissions, it means they have the ability to close the issue. Often useful where your developer resolve issues and a QA department closes them. Now the create issue, ability to create the issues. If you have a permissions of the create issue, it means you can create the issue in the project, otherwise you can't. Delete issue, edit issue, and the link issue, modify reporter, and the any other permissions we have. This permission, which is a schedule issue permissions, this particular permission is dependent on the other permissions as well. Let's suppose if you want to schedule a issue, it means you want to change the due date of a issue, you should have two permissions, edit issue permissions and the schedule issue permission. So these type of permissions are called the dependent permissions. Some permissions are dependent upon others, as I told you about the schedule issue. And for example, we can take another example of the dependent permissions is for a users to be able to edit the issues in the project, the first must be able to browse the project. It means if user want to edit the issue, it means they need a edit permissions, but before the edit permissions they need a browse project permission. So these type of permissions are called the dependent permissions because they depend on each other. Now in the third section we have the voter and voucher permission, where we can manage the vouchers and view voters and voucher permissions. We have the comment permissions. Let's suppose I do not want like all the team members can add the comments, then I can do with the help of the groups or the project roles, I can set the permissions for delete the comments, edit the comments and create the attachment. And these are the time tracking permissions. I would recommend just create any project and go through the default permission scheme so that you can read the descriptions about each and every permissions and you can play with that. So this is a simple overview of the default software scheme. Now the thing is this, how can we edit the software scheme? To edit the software scheme, we will go to the action, we will click on the edit permission and it will look like this. We have two options, edit and remove. When we will click on the edit, so it will give us options to add the, let's suppose I want to give the administrative permissions to a group and the group name is Jira core users and I'll grant it. You can see we have the group Jira core users, the permissions of the administrator project. If I want to remove, then I'll click on the remove and I'll click on this checkbox and after that remove. It has been removed now. So with the help of this edit and remove, you can remove the users, groups and maybe single users, or you can add. When you will click on the edit, then we have the permission name and we have the granted to project role, application access, groups, and when you will click on show more, then we have other options as well like service, project customer, reporter, single user, project lead, current assignee, user custom field value and the group custom field value. So these are the things which will help you to assign the permissions to the project role, groups or a single user. Now I will cancel it. So this is a way you can edit your permission, or you can grant the permission with the help of this grant permission options. You can, let's suppose if you want to administrate the project to the project role developer, you can just click on the grant and here we are. You can see we have the developer project role who has the ability to administrate a project in Jira. Right now I'll remove it, so I'll click on the remove, I'll check this checkbox and remove it from here. This is how we can edit the existing permission scheme. Okay, what happened, let's suppose you have a default permission scheme but the requirements are different. There is, you cannot change in the default scheme, you have to create your own scheme. Now we will see how can we create our own permission scheme, and after that how can we assign that newly created permission scheme to the project. we will go to the permission again. I'll click on the permission scheme, and here, with the help of this add permission scheme, we can create a new scheme. I'll click on the add permission scheme. When you will click a new permission scheme, then it will be completely blank. You have to add the user groups and maybe a single users, whatever you want. Let's suppose if I'll click a test permission, and this is a description like this is our test permission scheme, and I'll click on the add, then it will create a fresh permission schema for me. This is a test permission schema. I'll click on the permission and it will open a permission page. Here we are, and you can see this is a completely blank permission. You have to go and grant the permissions to the users, groups and roles. When you will click on the edit, you can do, let's suppose you want to give this, and you can do like this. So this is a one way that you can do, but I always use the copy option where I have all the permission scheme filled with the project role, users and groups, and I'll just change as per my requirement. Now we will go back and we will do that thing. So I'll click on the permission scheme again. I'll delete this test. So I'll click on the delete. So I'll delete it. It is asking, are you sure you want to delete the test? Yes, I am pretty sure. So I'll click on the delete, and my test permission scheme has been deleted now. Now what I will do, I'll just copy the default software schema with the help of this copy option, and here we are. This is a copy of default software scheme. I'll click on the edit and I'll change the name of the scheme and description. This is a copy of default software scheme, and I'll rename it the new software scheme. Okay, and new software permission scheme I'll change in the description as well, and I'll update that. Now I'll go to the new software permission schemes permissions, and it will open a permission for the new software permission scheme. I want to give access to the developer group to create the issues. So I'll go to the edit and I'll click on the group. I'll select the developer group and I grant the developer group permissions to create the issues. Now the users who are the members of the developer group can create the issues. So this is my new software permission scheme. Now I want the sample Scrum project use this particular permission scheme. How can I do that? For that I need to go to the sample Scrum project, and I'll go to the project setting. I will click on permissions. After that I'll go to the action and I'll click on user different scheme, and here I can choose my newly created permission scheme for sample Scrum project. So this is my new software permission scheme. I'll choose it and I'll click on associate. It will take a few seconds sometime, and now this particular sample Scrum project is using new software permission schema. We can confirm it from the admin view as well. So we can go to the permission scheme, and here we are. We can see new software permission scheme is used by sample Scrum project now. So this is how you can create your own permission scheme and then use this permission scheme in your project. I hope now you can understand the project permission scheme, how you can access, how you can copy it, how you can delete and add it, and how can you create your own and then assign that particular permissions to your project. As I told you, create your test project and play with the default permission scheme so that you can understand the project scheme better, and just read the project permission, issue permission and the attachment permissions, voter and voucher permissions very carefully, so that you can control your users, what they can in your project and what they can see in your project. So this is all about in this video. I hope now you can understand the project permission perfectly. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and subscribe this channel. You can ask your query into the comment box, and please share this video with the other person so that they can also understand the project permission scheme. And please press the bell icon so that you can get the notification about my new videos. Thank you.